Good morning, friends and neighbors. Welcome on to the Ask Wildman show. I'm Mike Hanna, and at least for right now, I apparently seem to be your host. Bear with us here. Miles is having a bit of audio trouble, so I'm going to try to steer the ship while he gets that figured out. But yeah, welcome into the show. This is a weekly, basically, Ask Us Anything show. So you can really ask us anything, but most folks like to ask us about small business marketing, technology, or something along those lines. But feel free to drop your questions in the comment section below, and hopefully Miles will be joining me really, really soon. But this is going to be a abridged version of the show anyways, even if Miles does join me, because I'm about to hop out onto the highway and down to Arkansas for a brief fishing trip. So we're going to have to keep this one brief, but we have some good stuff for you, or at least I do, here in the meantime while you're with us. So appreciate you joining us. And yeah, let's just get on with the show here. Hopefully, like I said, Miles will be coming in any minute now. But first thing I wanted to touch on today was to give a shout out to a local business and talk about something they've done that I thought was right in line with a couple news stories that we had percolating over the last few weeks. And if you've been watching the show, you probably heard us talk about something new in the college athletics world. The NCAA has basically reversed their long-standing procedure that athletes could not get any kind of paid compensation for their name or likeness or image being used. And of course, no kind of compensation, coming directly to them just for being an athlete. The only things that were allowed by the NCAA, of course, were tuition, board, so maybe I think there were some Pell Grants there for a little bit, and then those got phased out. So really, it's been a very controversial issue for decades now, and it was a really big reversal that the NCAA just did about a month ago. I believe it hasn't been that long, only a few weeks. And so last week on the show, we were pondering, hey, what does this mean for a college town like ours that has certainly at least one very high profile athletic program, but also, many athletes around the sports world have found success at KU. Everyone from track and field to volleyball to football from time to time. So there's a lot of potential there for small businesses and certainly even larger local businesses to tap into that brand recognition and do some partnerships, right? Do some sort of paid sponsorship or endorsement. And it just so happens that a place right down the street from me that I love just announced that they have a partnership with a KU basketball player. You may have seen Jay Wilson's, the American Dining establishment over there at 6th and Wakarusa. And big shout out to them, too. They have some great food, but that's not what we're talking about here today. But they just signed a deal with Jalen Wilson. Of course, Jalen Wilson, a member of the men's basketball team over there at KU and a fine player himself. And, of course, they also share the same initials, J. Wilson, J. Wilson. So far, it's just been announced. I saw an announcement on social media, so I'm not really sure what the details, of this are or how much Jalen Wilson is going to be a brand ambassador. But very interesting first move that at least I've seen. If you guys have seen some others out there, well, please send them to us, and we'll give those folks a shout out too. But it seems to me that there's ripe opportunity for people to, kind of source those relationships. And if it fits with your brand, then maybe that's a way that you can get, some extra attention, which of course is everything that we're trying to do there at the top of the funnel. So big shout out to Jay Wilson's there over at 6th and Wakarusa, and definitely go in and try the food because it is excellent. So speaking of restaurants, the next topic that I wanted to get into. Whoa, here we go. Hello. Welcome
working?
to the internet. Yes, Miles. Good morning, sir. How in the heck are you doing?
It's been a rough morning, audio speaking anyway. Backup
Well,
headset here. So
you're okay.
apologies for the surprise entrance.
Well,
I was trying to come in subtly and it didn't work.
I'm glad that you can now hear me.
Oh
I
boy.
will tell you that your audio while speaking is a little rough, so maybe the input's a little hot, or move the mic back or something.
All right.
Um, but yeah, good to see you though. So, so I don't know if you heard any of that. I just gave a shout out to Jay Wilson's restaurant. Miles, are you familiar with that fine establishment over at Six and
Absolutely.
Wakarusa? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well,
I did catch the tail end of that story.
okay. Yeah. They've made a partnership, just like we were talking about last week on the show, with a KU basketball player, Jalen Wilson. So, very, very cool stuff there. And tip of the cap to Jay Wilson's for getting out in front of it. So, I just had one really other topic I was going to hit, Miles, here today. But if you have any questions over there, especially ones that may pertain to me before I got to hit the road here, you feel free to fire those away. If not, I'm going to talk about some contactless ordering.
Yeah, nothing in the comments section just yet. But that's a good shout out here. This is an open Q&A, so please throw your questions below. If you got anything for us, we'll try to address those as they come up.
100%. Okay. So, we don't like to dance around difficult issues or topics on this show. So, let's just come out and say what's happened in the last 24 hours. The CDC has come back out, reversed course yet again, and, not mandated, but I think recommended is the language that they're using, that masks be used for vaccinated people when they're in public indoor settings. So, of course, we have to think about our friends in the restaurant and the bar industries, and really any kind of public kind of gathering, type of business, and what that means for them. We saw what happened also in Kansas City, Missouri, yesterday with a mask mandate, actually a mandate coming down. And for those of us in Douglas County, we kind of know that maybe mean that one's coming for us next. So I've been speaking to, even before yesterday, I've been speaking to a number of restaurant owners and bar owners the last few weeks, or last week especially, and they're nervous. They're not certainly happy about the prospects of people being scared to come indoors again, or certainly not, God forbid, some sort of a lockdown. But this is just another reminder how important it is, as we've been saying for the last 18 months, that your business is fully set up and fully equipped, the best that it possibly can be, for contactless ordering, if that's something that's applicable in your business, for delivery, curbside, and just online ordering in general, and making it as seamless as possible, making it as turnkey as possible, as user-friendly as possible. And so you're not creating hoops for people to jump through, because if you are, they're just going to go somewhere else. And that's a sad fact at this point in time, but it is what it is, right? And the market is the market. And so I've been getting, renewed interest from people who six weeks ago didn't maybe think it was such a big deal to have contactless ordering, right? And so as we head into the fall and the winter, this is certainly something to consider in your business, or how can you take what you have to the next game, or to the next level. We talked a lot about recently texting, which I think is an awesome way to let somebody know that their order's ready. And then you can also, of course, get these people in your ecosystem if you have an app, if you have a texting platform or something like that, to remind them and market to them in the future about important messages that you have. But Miles, you're the expert on this kind of stuff. So, just from a kind of 30,000 foot view, what do you see right now is critical, kind of, hey, we need to have this in a business. And for those of you who don't know, we handle everything from the merchant process and the POS side of things, all the way to your website, to your mobile app, full end-to-end spectrum here. So we can't go into a deep dive. We don't have time today to go into a deep dive into every aspect of this, but just kind of give us an overview of what you're thinking on this topic right now.
You don't want to talk about this for the next 5 hours? Are you sure?
I mean, if you
We
don't
got nothing
mind
better
me,
to do.
if you don't mind me hopping in the truck, and, yeah, we could do the show for 4 hours, but that's how far of a drive I got. But
Well, I did want to, before I really answer that question, extend on your last point there, just saying that, these kinds of technologies and the kinds of things that allow you to do something like contactless ordering opens up so many doors.
Mhm.
You mentioned texting people when their order's ready. You can also, work in the same kind of technologies to do reservations and shoot them a text when their
Right,
table is ready, or
right,
leverage this in your marketing efforts
or,
and then start doing some text message marketing. Or if you have some of this stuff built into a mobile app or even just a PWA, there are some options there, push notifications for communicating with people. So a lot of the same technologies that we talk about all the time that allow for this specific act here, this specific little upgrade, um, allow you to do so much more. If you just think a little outside the box, you can expand the same tools and use them over and over and over throughout the entirety of your customer's experience with your business. So I don't want us to just get pigeonholed here just talking about contactless ordering, but yeah,
hmm
that is a renewed topic of interest with a lot of specifically our restaurant clients. But this can extend outside of the hospitality industry and to anyone who is interacting with people in person, as we do see sort of a resurgence of some of these rules or mandates, or there's just a big unknown as to where we're going right now. So that changes customer behavior, of course. Um, Enabling something like contactless ordering, maybe that helps you to stay in business and continue operating during something like increased rules or some sort of halfway lockdown or something. But more than that, it helps your customers to feel safe using your business. It helps them to feel comfortable. And so if it comes down to, you know, go into your business or your competition and you have contactless ordering and they don't, that could be a huge winner for you in taking over some of your market space. Um, Yeah, I think that we need to not completely focus just on the act of contactless ordering. We were talking about the benefits of contactless ordering and some of these other technologies even before the resurgence of these new rules here,
hmm
because it's convenient, and a lot of the updates and the changes and the cool upgrades that we've gotten out of necessity during the pandemic are not going anywhere even after all this is done. So outside of the context of a potential new mask mandate or other rules coming down the pike here, um, a lot of these upgrades are going to be beneficial for your business regardless. So while this may stoke the fire here, or make people a little bit more interested in this kind of upgrade right now, I don't want us to get short-sighted about it and stop thinking about the overall benefit of it. Think of the cool things that you could do with some of these technologies, with message notifications, with push notifications, with a mobile app or PWA, with contactless ordering. I think we talked about it on this show a few months ago when we were originally talking about this. Just something like ordering at a bar. We're all
hmm
tired of going up and screaming our order at the bartender,
hmm
who can barely hear us and gets half of it the first time and another little bit of it the second time, and we're
hmm
hoarse by the end of it. And finally, an hour later, we get our 2 drinks we're looking for and throw some cash. Um, or we can be at the anywhere we want in the venue, at the festival, at wherever we are, and tap a couple of things on our phone. Payments done, orders done. It's all in there. They send you a text when it's ready. You go to your spot where it is, the bar or whatever, pick up your drink and go. Super easy, inside or outside of a pandemic scenario. We don't need this in order for this to be hugely effective for small businesses.
Yeah, 100%. So if you need us or anybody, this is if you need help auditing your setup, basically, reach out to us or whoever you're working with, or do it yourself. But everybody needs to be kind of going back over, like I said, their setup and their customer flow, and making sure there's no holes in that, and also making sure there's no holes in their marketing bridge in the way that they're letting their clients and their customers know what they're doing in order to facilitate those products and services easier to them. So
Communication is key here, and
yes,
no one can afford to lose customers right now.
right,
Customer retention,
and
we talked about that on the show here. I think you wrote an article on it recently. Um,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, customer retention is going to be key right now, and at any sort of economic downturn or hardship, customer retention
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So what be thinking exactly along those lines? Not only what can you do to get new customers in, but yeah, as Miles just said, what can you do to keep your customers if their consumer behavior starts to alter a little bit? And hopefully, this is just going to be a little blip on the radar, and we'll be chuckling about this in a few weeks, and things will be more in the realm of normal, quote unquote. All right, Miles, do we have any of your thoughts on that, or some questions coming in the comment section here before I hit the news here?
Oh, I've got tons of thoughts on that, but I know we're trying to do a little bit of a shorter show today. I've got a bunch of work here, and you've got a road trip to get to.
Yes.
So
Okay.
let's put a bow on that. If anyone does have any questions, you can email us, and we'll go into more depth. I've got our address scrolling below us here. AskWildman@wildmanweb.com, or just go to our website, wildmanweb.com. We got tons of awesome resources there, and we've got articles where we're talking about all of this stuff. We've got this show on there, all the live stream archives. So just check that out. And then if we do get any questions from you, get anything in the inbox, we'll either respond to you there or talk about this next week on our live stream. We're doing this every week, Wednesdays at 11. Mike, let's go ahead and close this show up with an update from the news desk.
Okay, here we are at the news desk, folks, with a quick update for you. First of all, we have at least one party of a long-standing war is calling truce. So a little bit of news on the peace front here this morning for everybody. The war I'm talking about, of course, has been one of the most hotly contested, in recent American memory. Yes, of course, I'm talking about the chicken wars. Yes, what else could I be talking about other than the chicken wars, Miles? They have been fierce and ferocious. And Popeyes, who I gotta say, I was kind of pulling for Popeyes. They're probably my second or third favorite. But Popeyes calls a truce to the chicken sandwich wars with its nugget launch campaign. So a little bit interesting of a pivot here. I think that they have decided that it's just getting a little too crowded in the chicken sandwich space. Of course, you have Wendy's and, some of these traditional burger places now are aggressively in the chicken sandwich space as well. And so even Popeyes, who's, like I said, I think has really good chicken, is tweaking and their messaging and pivoting just a little bit. And they're launching a new chicken nuggets campaign entitled "We Come in Peace." PIECE, and they are doing this across digital, print, and out-of-home marketing. And they're kicking it off with a 1 million nugget campaign that they have done to raise money for a Harvest Food Bank in New Orleans. So they're donating 1 million chicken nuggets to kick this thing off, and really, really pivoting hard into the chicken nugget land, at least for now. Okay. Off of the chicken wars and into the advertising wars, we have some big news from our friends over at Google. Google advertising revenue has soared 69% year over year to $50 billion in the second quarter with a B. YouTube ads drew in $7 billion in Q2, an 84% increase over last year in the same period. And Google Search Network with SEM basically and other offerings drummed up 35.8 billion, or roughly 68% of that year over year gain. One of the other really hot trends has been shorter videos. Kind of playing off, the YouTube short phenomenon. So, the takeaway here, if you are, and it's really been exploding in the retail space, especially, Miles. So, takeaway here, if you're a small, medium-sized business and you're not advertising on Google or YouTube, chances are one or many of your competitors are, and they're probably getting really good results. So last thing I have here, the Olympics, of course, Miles, are underway. Golf kicked off today. I'm still picking Justin Thomas. For anybody who's thinking maybe I switched on that, I have not. Sticking with my guy. But an interesting article here I came across. Of course, TV viewership is down in general, but live sports has been one of the big hang-ons. That has consistently kept up with ratings. Unfortunately, the Olympics are not experiencing that same success currently as live sports, across the world, but especially here in America. It's really, really tanking. And this has led, Toyota to pull back some of their advertising and other things. But what this has also spurred is an interesting discussion about viewership and audience participation and where the eyeballs and the ears are. And a lot of these big companies are really starting to realize that it's an omni-channel game, right? It's a 360-degree game now. It's not one size fits all. It's not, I'm going to put my ad in one or two or three places and effectively talk to my audience. I have to be wherever my audience is going, and that is increasingly being more and more places. And so a really interesting quote here, if I can find it. Most brands were not focused on integrative marketing plans until this year. Now, advertisers are understanding that consumers are looking to all these different mediums for streaming content and are no longer dependent on live TV broadcasts. So, integrative advertising or marketing is something that we talk about a lot, and how that applies to small and medium-sized businesses, even here locally. Is that, if you're only using one channel, if you're only using one platform or one type of media, unless you're really hitting that out of the park with a long-term consistent strategy that's been building over time, you're probably missing the boat. And you're probably not effectively penetrating your audience enough times or engaging with them in meaningful ways that's cutting through all that noise. And we talked about all that noise last week on the show, about how it went from 7 times to get somebody to say yes to 16 to 18 asks now, or seeing your messaging before somebody says yes, and the attention span dropping and all that, right? And counter that in with the fact that there's more places now that I can divide my attention between, and you start to understand the picture of this is not a silver bullet solution, right? We have to take a shotgun approach a lot of times rather than a rifle approach. Here's the caveat to that. You gotta walk before you run. And you can't start out, if you have a small budget, you can't undersaturate it and put $300 on everything, right? It's not like the roulette table, okay? So you have to also be strategic with that, and that's why we recommend before you ever start spending any serious money, meaning more than 4 figures a month, you really need to sit down with a professional and come up with a strategic marketing plan. We have a 7-step marketing plan that we use at Wildman that we think fits the bill for that, but feel free to reach out to whoever you're working with. Miles, I know I got to go, but do you have any other thoughts on that news before we wrap this up?
Well, I'm a little bit disappointed that the whole chicken nugget launch thing started off with a bad pun. That was my main note on that one. Interesting to see someone pivot outside of something like that. Normally we're talking about staying consistent in the long run, but sometimes, especially in a space like that, when it's so heated and so competitive, sometimes a little bit of a change of direction, a change of strategy, and differentiating yourself is the smart thing to do. So,
Yeah.
Curious to see where that lands in these never-ending chicken wars. The Olympics, I also find interesting. Of course, we always talk about having a more holistic approach to advertising and not just putting up billboards or advertising on the radio or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that traditional marketing is gone or anything. It has its time and place, of course.
Right.
But if it is not used, especially on larger campaigns like the ones that you're talking about there, if it's not used in conjunction with some modern technologies and some real strategy to penetrate different elements of the market, then you're missing out and you're leaving money on the table and you're just completely missing an entire section of your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know myself. If I'm watching the Olympic Games, for example, I'm not watching on one of the network cable channels. So if you're advertising there, you're completely missing me. If you're not marketing on social media and OTT, then I'm not seeing your stuff, even though I am engaging with that media there. So that integrated marketing solution, I think, is going to be the answer for everyone moving forward, and that's going to move into smaller and smaller and smaller campaigns, so that we're not talking about 5 figure a month marketing campaigns. We're talking about the small business that's putting $500 a month into something. They're going to have to find a way to
Right.
diversify and hit as much as possible. By leveraging some organic means and stretching their dollars and working a little smarter rather than harder. Regardless, I do agree with your conclusion there, which is, if you want to DIY your way through it, that's awesome. But if you're getting up to a significant marketing spend, then please talk to a professional. If it's not us, fine. Just don't waste your money by just spending it on whatever the shiniest
Yeah.
object you found is, the
Or,
newest toy in the market.
yeah.
Talk with someone and create a strategy.
Or even best bet, talk to multiple people and
Yeah.
weigh different opinions. Right. It's like just like before going to surgery, it's always good to get a second opinion. So.
Yeah. Regardless, do not operate on that level without some sort of strategy, some sort of long-term strategy, and probably talking with a professional at that point.
100%.
But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up for the
Okay.
day. Like I said, if you have any questions here, we hit on something, you want us to take a deeper dive in, maybe next week, please email us, askwildman@wildmanweb.com. Follow us, all of our social channels at wildmanweb. Go ahead and throw that here. And you can DM us there if you have any questions on anything, and we'll either respond to you there or we will get back to you next week, next Wednesday at 11.
Yep.
Mike, thank you very much for your time.
Sounds good. I'll call you later from the road, sir. Everybody,
All right.
everybody else have a good week. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks for watching.